Department of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Karnataka. Protocol for interstate traveller to Karnataka during phased reopening Unlock 1, version 2, dated 8 June 2020. The version 1 of the above mentioned document has been revisited, and following are the salient features of protocol for interstate travellers coming into Karnataka. Mandatory self-registration on Seva Sindhu Portal by all travellers before entering Karnataka. Name, address, mobile number and other information to be provided. No approval required. Use of same mobile number for multiple registration is not allowed except in case of a family. Business visitors to give details, that is name, mobile number and address of the persons in Karnataka they intend to meet and the date of return. Transit travellers to provide address in destination state and indicate exit checkpost from Karnataka. Number 2. Health screening of all incoming persons at entry points. Border checkposts, airports, seaports, railway stations and bus stands. Home quarantine hand stamping on hand for 14 days period as per quarantine norms. Quarantine norms. Symptomatic on arrival from any state. Hospital isolation at COVID care center or dedicated COVID health center and test immediately on arrival. If positive, shift to a dedicated COVID hospital, and if negative, no further test is required. Rule out other causes and treat accordingly. Complete remaining period of 14 days of home quarantine from the date of arrival. Asymptomatic on arrival. 1. Coming from Maharashtra. 7 days of institutional quarantine followed by 7 days of home quarantine. Test if they develop symptoms during quarantine period. Persons aged above 60 years or and with comorbidity, that is HIV, tuberculosis, cancer, stroke, dialysis, organ transplant, diabetes mellitus, hypertension and other immunocompromised cases. Test once between 5th to 7th day of arrival. Exemptions from institutional quarantine for special category asymptomatic persons. 14 days of home quarantine after swab collection immediately on arrival. One attendant to be permitted to accompany the special category person. Special category persons are in case of death in the family, pregnant women, children aged below 10 years, elderly aged above 60 years, serious illness and human distress. Any person having negative COVID test result from ICMR approved lab within the last 2 days is exempted from institutional quarantine and should go for 14 days of home quarantine. Coming from other states except Maharashtra. 14 days of home quarantine. Test if they develop symptoms during the home quarantine period. For persons where home quarantine is not possible, then institutional quarantine should be done, especially when there is a large family or no separate room for home quarantine, slum or overcrowded areas where home quarantine cannot be followed. Business or short-term visitors. Business visitors from other states coming to Karnataka. To establish that one is a business visitor, the person should show confirmed return flight or train ticket, which should be not more than 7 days later from the date of arrival. In case one is coming by road, he or she should provide the address proof of person in Karnataka they intend to meet. If the business visitor is coming for a short duration of 48 hours, counted from the arrival time, then he or she is exempted from COVID test and quarantine. All precautions of wearing mask, using hand sanitizer and cough etiquette should be followed. If the duration of stay in Karnataka is more than 48 hours and less than 7 days, then COVID test will be done. The swab will be drawn immediately on arrival, and after getting a negative report, such a person can complete his engagements and go back. Till the test result comes, the person should stay in quarantine. However, if one is having COVID negative test certificate from ICMR approved lab, which is not more than 2 days old, then such a person is exempted from testing and quarantine. Business traveller native of Karnataka and going to other states. For a traveller who is returning within 4 days from the date of journey, there is no testing and no quarantine when he or she comes back to the state. Such a person should report to Apthamitra Helpline 14410 regarding the status of their health during the next 14 days. A traveler who is returning back after 4 days should follow the quarantine protocol as mentioned above in Para 3, Clause 2, A and B. No hand stamping for business travelers. Transit traveler. To establish that one is a transit traveler, the person should show a flight or train ticket for onward journey which should not be more than 1 day later from the date of arrival. In case one is traveling by road, he or she should provide the address and identity proof in the destination state. The traveler should get his exit recorded at the selected exit checkpost or railway station or airport. Such traveler should be hand stamped if traveling by road. Home quarantine. Strict enforcement. Home quarantine follow-up for all incoming persons except business visitors and transit travelers. Rural areas. Home quarantine poster on home door. Information to 2 neighbors. Gram Panchayat task force to carry an overall responsibility of home quarantine. 3-member team in every village to monitor. Flying squad. FIR against violation of home quarantine and shift to institutional quarantine. IVRS call center outbound calls. Quarantine watch. App to daily self-monitor. Upload temperature. Fingertip pulse oximetry for elderly and persons with comorbidity. BBMP and other urban areas. Home quarantine poster on home doors. Information to 2 neighbors. Ward level team to carry an overall responsibility of home quarantine. 3-member team at booth level consists of local body official, booth level officers and beat constable to monitor along with the involvement of resident welfare apartment owners associations. Flying squad. FIR against violation of home quarantine and shift to institutional quarantine. IVRS call center outbound calls. Quarantine watch. App for daily self-monitoring, upload temperature, fingertip pulse oximetry for elderly and persons with comorbidity. Symptomatic and influenza-like illnesses to call Apthamitra Helpline 14410. All those who are in home quarantine or otherwise and develop symptoms similar to COVID-19 or influenza-like illness, symptoms of fever, cough, cold and throat pain, should call the 24/7 helpline Apthamitra to get telemedicine help and be directed to fever clinics for further assessment and COVID-19 test. Role of general public, resident welfare association and commercial establishments. All shops, commercial establishments, offices, factories, malls, religious places, hotels, etc. are required to check for quarantine stamp on all their customers or visitors at the back of their hand before they enter the premises. They should not allow those with quarantine stamp to enter. They should inform the police at telephone number 100. The general public and resident welfare associations are advised to report any violation of the quarantine in their neighborhood to the police at telephone number 100. If the Deputy Commissioner of District or BBMP Commissioner assesses that the effective quarantine for interstate traveler can be done in a better way by changing it from home to institutional quarantine or vice versa, then he or she can do so with information to State Surveillance Unit giving reasons for such a change. Annexure. Exempted people. The following categories of persons are exempted from requirements of quarantine and testing. Number 1. Medical professionals, nurses, paramedical staff, sanitation personnel and ambulances as per Para 10.1 of MHA Order number 40-20202-DM-1 Clause A dated 17/05/2020. Number 2. Constitutional and statutory functionaries who are on their official duty. Number 3. Airlines crew. Number 4. Students taking up board or university examinations as per the standard operating procedure issued by the concerned departments. Number 5. Daily interstate commuters across the border as per the standard operating procedure issued by the Health Department. Number 6. If members of central or state government, defense, paramilitary, railways, DRDO, ISRO, public sector undertakings, universities, research institutes, and such other organizations are required to stay in institutional quarantine, and that organization makes a request to declare their dedicated quarantine facility for use of their members or declare a guest house owned by them to be an institutional quarantine facility, they may be allowed to do so with the permission of the Department of Health and Family Welfare.